Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the fourth race of the VRG Vintage Racing League Series. Race 4 taking place this evening virtually at Lime Rock Park, Connecticut for the Connecticut Grand Prix. We're out here this evening in our practice session from 8 p.m. till 9, followed by a 30-minute qualifying session, and then a 30-minute race from 9:30 to 10. We'll be trying out a few more things again as usual this evening on the stream, so bear with us while we do so. For practice, we'll bounce around through the field, try and put the camera on everybody for a little bit, and then we'll get down to brass tacks when we get to our qualifying session starting at 9 p.m. My name is Ian Wisbon, here with the VRG for the Virtual Racing League, Race 4 at Lime Rock Park, Connecticut for the Connecticut Grand Prix. Thanks for joining this evening. Check back in with you here in just a little bit. everybody out there watching the live stream on YouTube. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button. Follow the Vintage Racer Group YouTube channel. We've successfully crested 100 subscribers, which means we get a much easier to remember URL. So you can now visit us at youtube.com/c/Vintage Racer Group, which is 1,000% simpler than what we used to have. So thank you to everybody so far that subscribed to our channel. We really appreciate it. We hope to continue to bring you more iRacing here with the Virtual Racing League. And then once we get back to the real world and actually running cars on track, we'll start putting up some at the track and in-car race videos. My name is Ian Wisbon. I'm here with the VRG for the Virtual Racing League, broadcasting to you virtually Lime Rock Park, Connecticut for tonight's running of the Connecticut Grand Prix, Race 4 in the VRG Virtual Racing League Series. This is a track that a number of these drivers are intimately familiar with, Lime Rock being a much storied track, which many of these drivers regularly race at. Whoop! Excellent avoidance there by Kurt, but it looks like he got a little squirrely avoiding that obviously moving chicane. The VRG being based primarily in the Northeast, or at least the Mid-Atlantic region, and traveling up and down the eastern seaboard. Tracks near and far, but Lime Rock is certainly one which is on our schedule, and currently on our schedule for later this year, with the hopes of going up there for the Lime Rock Fall Festival. We all certainly hope we can get out, dust off those cars, and put in a few laps here. Turn right a bunch of times and left once, and have a good time coming down the downhill. We'll be running practice here this evening from 8 to 9 p.m. to let everybody get their bearings around this course here this evening. Currently following around VRG President Mike Lawton. We'll do our best to get around through the field, show everybody off some of their custom liveries, and I think we're looking forward to some real close racing action here this evening. Lime Rock Park should be a bit of a challenge here for our Virtual Racing League competitors. Very familiar to some. Could be a little tight in there when we're trying to execute some passes, so this should be an exciting one. Again, my name is Ian Wisbon here with the VRG Virtual Racing League. I'll be your host this evening. If you hear any barking in the background, that's my fur children Genevieve and Arthur providing color commentary. Thank you for joining us, and again, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I'll be back with you here in just a little bit. Ian Wisbin with you here with the VRG Virtual Racing League, coming at you from Lime Rock Park, Connecticut this evening with the Connecticut Grand Prix, the fourth race in the VRG Virtual Racing League iRacing Series. Following along right now with Josh Shoemaker. I see he's put on a spiffy new snap-on livery for his BMW Z4 GT3 there. Looks like he's managed to find the downhill there. Yep, and he's going downhill and turning right. There we go. Finding his way around this course, getting those tires warmed up. Happy to have Josh with us if his watching party is out there this evening. Hello to Josh's fans and family. Following Stefan Vappa around here as he approaches the downhill. I expect a big showing from Stefan tonight. I feel this is a course that he's got plenty of experience with, admittedly in much smaller horsepower vehicles. Given his showing last week, I think we can expect big things from Stefan. Probably should be a nice race with our top three competitors here in recent weeks. Darren Treacle, Ian Ditson, Stefan Vappa, Spencer Patterson as well, also expecting a strong showing from him this evening. The broadcast team is going to be putting together some additional graphics for the next running of the VRG's VRL series, including some driver graphics, so when I click on the name you can see who some of these folks are driving these cars, or as a lot of us tend to know each other at the racetrack by the cars that we typically race in the real world. So a bit different spin on the driver pop-up there in the corner. Should prove to be interesting. That way when you get to the track and these guys are out on course in their real race cars, you'll have an idea who they are and can put a face to their virtual racing. Be running a 1-hour practice this evening. We're about halfway through that currently. We'll follow that with a 30-minute quali session, and then the 30-minute running of the Connecticut Grand Prix. Here with the VRG's Virtual Racing League, I am Ian Wisbin, your commentator this evening. Thanks for joining us in the YouTube stream. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Big shout out to everybody that's liked us so far. We're up to 100. Whoa, that was a bit of a shunt there. Sorry, gents. Sometimes happens when the camera's on you. But up to 100 subscribers, so we've got a new URL. youtube.com/c/vintage racer group. So you can swing by and check out previous races in the series, and once we get back to the real world, I expect we'll have some in-car and some live race footage we can share with you there. Perhaps a bit of instructional video on real world racecraft, and maybe we'll talk a couple of these virtual racers and giving us a tour of their rigs, great or small. And you can get an idea as to what it's like to be behind the wheel of a virtual GT3 race car. Back with you here in just a little bit. course, we always like to see the liveries on these cars in the virtual racing world. Obviously a bit easier to put some paint on a car when you don't have to do all the body work, put in all the body filler, prime it, wet sand it, paint it, wet sand it, lose your fingerprints for 6 months. So always interested to see how these racers gussy up their cars. Lovely Gulf oil livery here on Dave Fitzgerald's BMW this evening. Sorry to call you out like that, Dave. Your ears are probably burning. Get back out there and get back on track. Checked in with Jim Karamanis, the series chair. It looks like he's having a bit of a dust up there with Niall McCabe in the 909 Audi. Jim out this evening in a Ferrari. I think typically Jim has been running the Mercedes-Benz AMG GT3. Looks like he's trying on a little something different this evening. Probably a bit more form-fitting, being it's a Ferrari. Expect it's a bit more nimble around here. Probably a bit more neutral handling. Today is Tuesday, May 19th. This Friday, the VRG will be guests of the Washington, D.C. region SCCA iRacing Series. We will be joining the WDCR group at Road Atlanta for a session with them. So we thank the Washington, D.C. region SCCA very kindly for having us out, kind of in the spirit of mingling a bit of vintage racing with a bit of modern SCCA. Of course, we're all out there in modern cars in this series. Oh, looks like we had a bit of a dust up there at the end of the straight. Expect Jim will take that back to the pit and restart. Anyways, Friday we'll be joining the Washington, D.C. region SCCA for their iRacing series at Road Atlanta. I believe I'm going to jump into the broadcast booth with the SimTV crew and spend a bit of time talking to them and telling them about the VRG Virtual Racing League. So looking forward to that one. Should be a good time at Road Atlanta. I know everybody's been practicing diligently when they can find some time to jump into the sim. So it should be a good time. Jumping back on board with Josh Shoemaker here. Looks like he's finding some pace here, finding his way around the track. This is Josh's second race with us. We thank him for coming out and joining us this evening. I see Darren Treacle has entered the sim this evening out here in a Mercedes-Benz with an outstanding Lucky Strike livery on it. I believe last week at New Jersey Motorsports Park he was out in the Audi in a Marlboro Shell livery of McLaren fame from Senna's days. This Lucky Strike livery looks outstanding. Perhaps an homage to the BAR F1 team. If I have any influence, I may see about getting a Benson and Hedges or a Buzzin' Hornets livery on that car. So thanks to Darren for coming out. Darren has won the first 3 outings for the VRG Virtual Racing League. We're going to look to see if he can pull off 4 in a row here at Lime Rock. Happy to have Darren with us this evening. Maybe we can pull him into the interview booth a little bit later this evening and see how he's doing this evening. Following along with Paul Bova right now. Lime Rock, I believe, rather conveniently close to Paul, presuming he's still in the Connecticut area, though he may have since relocated. One time took an out and back trip to pick up a Turner 950S race car in Paul's neck of the woods. That proved to be a very interesting adventure, driving back through New York City with a trailer attached and almost driving onto one of those bridges that prohibits trailers. To say it was a tense outing is probably a bit of an understatement, but we made it. Anyways, happy to have Paul with us this evening. Looks like he's running a Motul sponsorship this evening. Sharp looking colors there with the black and the blue. Thanks for coming out and joining this evening, Paul. Just under 20 minutes left here in this practice session, and then we'll have a 30-minute quali. Look down there, the Samposi straight. Jump in the cockpit here with Robert and take a lap. of the more difficult transitions into virtual racing is the lack of the tactile feedback that the drivers usually have when they're in the car. Obviously, you have your engine noises and a bit of tire squeal, and you can hear the rumbles from the rumble strips on the track. So there's some audio feedback, but primarily in a lot of cases you just have the feedback in your steering wheel to give some indication as to the level of grip and steering feedback. Certainly there are more advanced rigs which have rumbles built into the seat, similar to the subwoofer that you would have installed in your trunk in high school and listened to music with extremely large amounts of bass in the playback. They'll rattle the seat so you kind of get an indication as to when you're on the rumble strips or the car is starting to come a bit unsettled. You can also go so far as to suspend the rig on hydraulic or pneumatic actuated arms, and that gives you forward and rear pitch yaw, some feeling as to what the car is doing. But a number of these drivers, we'll take Stefan Vappa for example, sitting at your basic office desk with a steering wheel, brake pedals, on an office chair with wheels on it, probably driving in his socks to get a little bit more modulation there in the pedals, so you lose a little too much feeling there even with driving shoes on. And I understand at least one of our competitors this evening is running on a new monitor, upgrading from a, I believe, 14-inch cathode ray tube VGA display, and has typically been setting some pretty fast times. So it's not necessarily about the equipment that you have, it's more so about the seat time and the attention to detail, just like in the real world racing. Traffic here as most everybody has joined the race session this evening. Looks like this evening we're running about 23 entrants in this race. Imagine a few individuals probably just finishing up their dinner, perhaps some homework if they're still in school, and then jumping into the sim, get a few laps in for practice, and then qualifying and race. Just under 15 minutes left here. Take a look at our weather for this evening. Though it does seem to be that we're time traveling. It's not in fact May 15th, it's May 19th. Otherwise, looks like a lovely day at virtual Lime Rock Park in Connecticut. Should prove to make for some pretty pristine conditions for our race this evening. Follow along here with Matthew Barber, see a bit about how fast he's going and what gear he's in. Like about 145 miles an hour top speed down the Sam Posey Straight. Probably quite a bit faster than most of these guys go in their vintage race cars. Though certainly with a long enough head of steam in that hill just before the straight, maybe they'll hit 145 miles an hour. Probably more question as to whether or not they'll have a brake to get it woed down with that right-hander. note, just as Darren crested the hill there, these cars tend to come unsettled when they come up the uphill. But make sure you have your wheel pointed straight when that happens, otherwise they're not absolutely straight when you come back down. That could be a world of hurt there. So we'll keep an eye out for that throughout qualifying and then into the race and see just how many of our competitors are catching a bit of air up the crest of that hill. Just about under 9 minutes left here for this practice session. We're following along with Darren Treacle right now, winner of our last 3 races with the VRG Virtual Racing League. Looks like he's out on pole position. Well, at least with a pole position time right now. Ian Ditson, who's just ahead of him there in the shell liveried BMW, about 2 seconds behind. Looks like it's pretty close between Ian Ditson and Dave Fitzgerald now. Dave Fitzgerald visiting us from the DC Region SCCA. We thank Dave for coming out and racing with us this evening. Let's take a look at his car. Again, kudos to Dave there on that Gulf Oil livery. Love to see it. Looks like he's managing to pick up a pretty decent amount of time there on our current session leader, Darren Treacle. Interesting to see how this shakes out once we get into qualifying the race. Dave may need to go into the pits, pick up some fresh tires. Those ones might be getting a little greasy. Spencer Patterson, one of 2 Audis out on track with us this evening, and I believe Spencer has been running the Audi in most of his outings with us. I'm uncertain if he's run something else thus far. See if the broadcast team can work on those championship standings and see just where we stand on this with the VRG Virtual Racing League. Though I'm certain Darren Treacle is currently leading the series as he's won the last 3 races. Behind him, it's a bit of a guess. Practice session for the VRG's Connecticut Grand Prix at Lime Rock Park, Connecticut for the Virtual Racing League. This is race 4 in the series. At the end of this practice session, we'll have a short interlude while we change over to qualifying. We'll get a half-hour qualifying in, followed by a 30-minute race. Currently riding with Ian Ditson. Unfortunately, I left the camera on him too long. I'll try not to do that to him in the race, particularly if he's running down for first place. Back here with Stefan Vappa and the Vappa Vintage sponsored VRG Vintage Motorsports Magazine Mercedes-Benz. Looks like Michael Buttrick behind just got a little squirrely coming up over the hill there. As noted, it's a little tough there. If your wheels aren't absolutely straight when you crest the hill, it gets dicey. See how there Stefan does on this lap by. Picked up a bit of time there. He's making progress. Coming up on the end of our practice session here at Lime Rock Park for the Connecticut Grand Prix with the VRG Virtual Racing League. Looks like Darren Treacle's out on top currently, though Ian Ditson has put on some pace here in the closing minutes of this session. We have Dave Fitzgerald behind, also pretty swift, and Stefan Vappa as well. So this should prove to be an interesting qualifying session. Looking forward to this. I think it'll be an exciting race for everybody here. So we'll do 30 minutes of qualifying after this practice ends. There we go. Here's the changeover to our qualifying session. We'll do 30 minutes here. Watch as everybody rolls off the pit lane. We head out onto track here. Jump on board. Get the timing tower up here once we get some initial laps put in. Everybody's on their out lap. Again, we're here at Lime Rock Park, Connecticut, for the Connecticut Cup. This is the VRG Virtual Racing League. Looks like a lovely day. A little warm, 94 degrees, so I'm sure the crews in the paddock are probably having a good virtual sweat. But otherwise, looks like a great day for racing. We thank you for joining us. My name is Ian Wisbin, here with the VRG, the Virtual Racing League. Picking up John Wood here, out this evening in his dark green BMW. John, a frequent iRacer, traveling around and racing with a number of different groups in the iRacing series that are so popular lately. Also had the opportunity to get in some real-world racing earlier this year at VIR on the South Course with Champ Car in a 12-hour endurance series in his 1989 BMW 325 IS with the DIPA Sport Endurance Racing team. Kudos to John for getting out there and putting in a great showing at the first ever endurance outing for that car. 12 hours, believe me, I was surprised, as was Chief Mechanic Scott Buriak. Jump up here to Ian Ditson, who's looking for his first win in the VRG Virtual Racing League Series. He had a spot of bad luck last week in New Jersey Motorsport Park. I'm sure that's something he's been thinking about since we last raced. So looking for a strong showing from Ian this evening. Well, no, just jumped on with Dave Fitzgerald. Unfortunately, had a bit of extracurricular in front of him. Looks like he's off. I expect he'll get a tow back to the pits and come on back out. Following along here with Stefan Vappa. I expect he knows Lime Rock like the back of his hand. Stefan's been a great contributor to the VRG Virtual Racing League community, helping everybody get up to speed with just how all this stuff works, how to do your car setups, and of course providing some of that real-world racing experience that Stefan has acquired in his racing career. Obviously a bit more under his right foot in this Mercedes-Benz than he typically has in his beloved Saab 2-strokes. Along with Kurt Uzbey for a little bit here. In the real world, I understand Kurt races a Chevron B16. Lovely red color. Happy to have Kurt racing with us this evening. Looks like a bit too much welly in that left-hander there. A lot of traffic out there at the start of this qualifying session. We got 30 minutes. Hopefully everybody can find some air and get a clean pace lap in or get lucky. Everybody else goes back to the pits and you can put in a ringer. Getting a little hairy there coming up over that hill. I believe the race stewards are probably going to want to take a look at that one there as well. A number of drivers new to virtual racing. Obviously trying to feed the need for speed in the virtual racing in the absence of real world racing. So there's a number of folks here who are pretty good shoes in a real car but are having to acclimate themselves to the virtual racing world. But I think it has proven to the experience and the similarity to the real world that this many folks who've probably never sat at a computer and raced the car have been able to take to it. And everybody's finding more pace each week we run these races. Looks like Michael got the boot there. Unfortunately, that's the curse of the cameraman's camera. Sometimes I point the camera at you and something goes wrong. Hopefully it's early enough in the quali session Michael can get back out there and put in a good pace lap. We've got 5 minutes transpired thus far in our qualifying session of 30 minutes. Should be plenty of time for everybody to get out there and get in a good lap. As it stands right now, looks like Darren Treacle's out on top. Spencer Patterson, a little less than a second behind him. Should prove to be interesting the later we get into qualifying. I see Brad Colasar is joining us. Local Pittsburgh vintage racer. Happy to have Brad out with us this evening. Out in a Ferrari. I believe one of maybe two out on track. There may be a third. Happy to have Brad joining us. I believe this is his first outing with us here with the VRG Virtual Racing League, so certainly happy to have him. Nice job avoiding the moving chicane there, Brad. Good luck to you this evening. Nice shot there of a car cresting the hill there. You see just how much air those front wheels get. Up with Jim Karamanis and the other Ferrari out on course just as Brad Colasar goes by. I'm sure Marinella is happy to see the coverage on TV. Two Ferraris running down the Samposi straight into turn one. Let's see if we can follow these guys for a little bit, jump in the car with Jim as Brad takes off into the distance. A little wide there due to traffic, Jim, unfortunate. Clark Orstrom. Watch as he hits the uphill here. Just how much lift he gets in the front end. You'll hear the engine spike. Ten minutes into the 30-minute qualifying session here, riding along currently with Spencer Patterson, also a Pittsburgh racer from familiar face at the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix and the Patterson clan. Hello to any of the Pattersons which may be out there watching. Hope you're all well. Spencer's been a great competitor here thus far in the series. Has been giving the top 5 positions a run for their money. Maybe this is the race where Spencer manages to put it on top of the podium. Given his lap times, he certainly looks to be giving Darren a run for his money. If they can get away clean at the start of the race, stick together, this could be a good fight. Jumping down here to Ralph Solomon. Looks like he may be having a spot of trouble there with his Ferrari. See if he takes this one back to the pit and rejoins this qualifying session. Welcome to Ralph. We'll check back with you once you get squared away. Pick up Brad Colasar, also out in a Ferrari this evening. Now with VRG President Mike Lott out in his Mercedes-Benz, which he's been campaigning in every race thus far. A lot of grunt to these cars. Probably a spot different from the Alphas, which Mike typically runs at the track. The liveries are the same, the horsepower is not. I understand Mike has been traveling quite a bit lately, doing some off-season testing for various Formula One teams. I understand that he was in the running for the ride at Ferrari, though I understand Carlos Sainz pipped him for that one, so unfortunate there. Perhaps Minardi will make a comeback to Formula One and Mike can live his dreams running F1 with Minardi F1. Following along with Niall McCabe now, out this evening in an Audi. White as opposed to his typical green of the Sprigget that we know him so well in at the racetrack. I see Niles taking his time out there, running a reconnaissance lap, and apparently doing a bit of lawn care for Lime Rock Park. But I expect that Niles just sitting back and waiting for a bit of open air while he puts in a scorching qualifying lap. Mac McCormick rolling out of the pit lane. Currently qualified 22nd spot. Looks like he's got the 109, familiar to us from his Austin Mini Cooper S. Mac rejoins traffic. About halfway through this qualifying session, 15 minutes remaining. As it stands, last week's and the only race winner thus far, Darren Treacle, currently up on top with a 48.9, followed closely behind by Spencer Patterson. Looks like Ian Ditson's putting on the pressure though. follow Ian along for a little bit here, see how he's doing. Ooh, unlucky there with Stefan and Paul coming together there. That's unfortunate. Clark Orstrom right now, qualifying in 6th position. Unfortunately, I've never learned how to pronounce that. Basif, Basef, Basif. If you're watching in the stream, I'd appreciate it if somebody could phonetically spell out BASF. Excellent livery on the car, though. Very nice. Thanks for bringing that out, Clark. We have about 10 minutes remaining in the qualifying session here. stands right now, Darren Treagle's out on top. Second place, Spencer Patterson. Third place, Ian Ditson. Stefan Vappa in fourth. Dave Fitzgerald currently in fifth place. Looks like all of their best times there are fairly close, so currently showing everybody's best time. So we can see Darren's got a pretty good handle. About half a second on second place here. And after that, it's all pretty close, so this should prove to be a pretty exciting race. We're running this evening for the Connecticut Cup, the VRG Virtual Racing League, fourth race in the series. Coming towards the end of our 30-minute qualifying session, followed by a 30-minute race session for race 4 in the series. The VRG will be guests of the Washington, D.C. region SCCA this Friday at Road Atlanta. And your commentator, Ian Wisman here with the VRG, is going to probably sit in for a little bit with the Sim TV broadcast crew. You may know them from other national coverage of Grid Life, other DC region iRacing broadcasts, and I believe they're doing a bit of the other bigger pro leagues, so it should be interesting to ride along with those guys while they work the booth. And then next Tuesday, on the 26th, we're going to be running at Watkins Glen for the Champions Cup. Unfortunate there, Darren. Sorry about that. So that's Watkins Glen on the 26th for the Champions Cup. And then following on from there, oh, actually, you know what? Next week's a fun run at Watkins Glen. So we can get a bit of practice in, a little extra practice, and then heading to Watkins Glen again for the Champions Cup, and then our series wrap-up following. And I don't know if this is published yet or not, but I do believe it's going to be a night race at a many-storied endurance racetrack. So that should prove to be interesting to wrap up the VRG Virtual Racing League inaugural season. A night race on an endurance course. Though I think it's going to be kept to the standard 30-minute race. We're not going for a 24-hour endurance, at least not this season, not yet. Though if I were, I'd probably want John Wood on my endurance racing team, despite the agricultural that he's currently taking part in right now. Stefan getting it woed down there as they go into turn 1, into the Sam Posey straight. Keeps his nose clean. We've got Mac, Kurt Ouzbay, and Stefan Vappa running pretty close there out here in this qualifying session. Unfortunately, it looks like Mac's pushing a little bit and probably going to have to take that back to the pits and straighten out those panels a little bit. Nice thing about virtual racing, not that hard to get it back to the pits and fix it up. Following along with Michael Buttrick here. I do know Mike will be running with a VR headset on, which I gather greatly improves his visibility in the car because it's just like sitting there. He can look left, right, or even turn around completely and get a full 360-degree view as opposed to being constrained to just a single or 3 monitors. Sorry about that, Michael left the camera on you a little bit too long. See Ralph's back out with us here in his Ferrari. Lime Rock track, I believe Ralph knows very well, though it's decidedly a bit different than his Elva Formula Junior. We typically see him out running with us, and I understand this season he's picked up a Datsun 510, which I've seen photos of on the Instagram, which looks like an excellent car, and I look forward to seeing it out at the track this year. Ralph, supported by Michael's Vintage Racing. Hello to the Michael's boys out there, if you're watching this evening. Bit of an understated livery here for Ralph. Gonna have to check in with him, see where he was inspired to pick out this color palette. Dwindling down here in our qualifying session. I would have to say this grid's probably looking towards being pretty well solidified. Currently have Darren Trigal out on top. Spencer Patterson currently sitting in second place. Stefan Vappa in third. Dave Fitzgerald there in fourth place. Ian Ditson in fifth. He's just coming out of the pits, I expect. Put in another lap here before we expire this qualifying session. I understand Ian was in the pits, not taking on fuel, but popped in one of those quali motors that the Formula One of yesteryear were so famous for, that super high strung, good enough for an out lap, a hot lap, and an in lap. So let's see if Ian can find any pace here and claw his way up this qualifying just a little bit higher. Up to the end of this session here, so everybody's lap is going to be their last lap, and then we'll cut to a 30-minute race session here at Lime Rock Park for the Connecticut Cup here with the VRG Virtual Racing League. My name is Ian Wisman. I'm here with the VRG. I do the broadcast and live streams. Hopefully we can pull some of our competitors into our Discord server this evening and have a bit of an interview with them, probably not during the race but afterwards, and get their thoughts on how they found the conditions in the race this evening. checkered is out on this qualifying session, so everybody's going to roll back to the pits here in just a little bit. We'll pull up our grid, see how we're going to run this race here at Lime Rock Park. Beautiful shot there down the Sam Posey Straight. Thank you all for joining us out there on YouTube for the stream for the VRG Connecticut Cup for the Virtual Racing League. My name is Ian Wisbon. I'm your broadcaster tonight. Thanks for joining us. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We appreciate it. We've crested 100 subscribers, and great to have that. We thank you for joining us every Tuesday night while we race here. We'll pull up our grid once the official results are in. Starting off in P1 this evening, Darren Treacle. See if he can take this one flag to flag. Second place, we've got Spencer Patterson. Third place, Stefan Vappa. Fourth, Dave Fitzgerald, visiting us from the Washington, D.C. region SCCA. We've got Ian Ditson there in fifth place. Clark Orstrom in sixth. Rob Hines in seventh. Jim Karamanis in eighth place. John Wood in ninth. Robert Lang in 10th. Michael Buttrick in 11th. Brad Colasar in 12th, joining us for the first time this evening. Nice work, Brad. 13th place, we have Ralph Padgington in the Hot Wheels liveried Mercedes-Benz. Ken Fitzgerald in 14th. VRG President Michael Lott in 15th. Kurt Usbay in 16th. Matthew Barber, 17th. Scott Nettleship, 18th. We've got Paul Bova in 19th. Ralph Solomon, 20th place there in his Ferrari. Niall McCabe in 21st. We have Mac McCormick in 22nd. Rick Lindano there in 23rd. And Josh Shoemaker in 24th place. We'll follow around the grid here once everybody gets set. My name is Ian Wisbon. I'm here with the VRG Virtual Racing League. Thanks for joining us at Lime Rock Park virtually for the Connecticut Cup, fourth race in the series. The last three races have been taken by Darren Treacle. We'll see if he can make it four in a row. I expect he's going to have stiff competition and race-long challenges from Spencer Patterson, Stefan Vappa, and Dave Fitzgerald. Ian Ditson back there in fifth place. I'm sure he's going to want to get up a little bit further than he is right now. So this should work out to be a exciting race for you all this evening. Thanks for joining us out there in YouTube land. We appreciate it. Rolling off here for our pace lap. It's harder than one may think making a pace lap in the virtual world. That lack of real firm feedback, and plus your feet have just been qualifying and practicing, so they're used to, you know, race speeds and pressures. So the accordion effect that happens on these pace laps sometimes is exacerbated. But otherwise, looks like we're clean thus far. Follow them around here at Lime Rock Park. Certainly like to thank Hummel Brothers Hot Dogs, the official hot dog of Lime Rock Park. Hummel hot dogs make a day at the park better. I understand the secret ingredient is meat. Makes them extra good. So we very much thank Hummel Brothers for sponsoring this evening's broadcast here at Lime Rock Park in Connecticut for the Connecticut Cup. Up our race leaders as they come down the hill here. Expect the pace car to pull off, and we'll look for the green lights here at the end of the Sam Posey Straight. We have a green flag here at the Connecticut Cup, VRG Virtual Racing League. Let's see if Darren can make it into turn 1. Make it clean, keep it clean. Looks like he's got a hard charger. Dave Fitzgerald come up in 3rd place. Spencer Patterson takes turn 1 from Darren. Let's see if he can make it stick. Dave Fitzgerald fast behind. Stefan Vappa keeping close. Oh, we have a bit of a dust up here on the opening lap. Looks like Darren Treacle spun off. Unfortunately, we've lost him. Spencer Patterson's in the lead, followed by Dave Fitzgerald 2nd place and Stefan Vappa in 3rd. A little further back the pack, Robert Hines. John Wood up to 5th place. Ralph Padgington behind him. See what our race leaders are doing. Dave Fitzgerald giving chase here to Spencer Patterson. Hopefully Darren's going to be able to get it back together and get out on track and try and take the lead back here at this Lime Rock Park. Terribly unfortunate there in the opening lap. Coming down, following along with Clark Ordstrom, Kurt Uzbek. Unfortunate, Mike Lawton looks like he had a bit of an off, came into the Armco there. Jumping back up to our race leaders. Dave Fitzgerald, Spencer, looks like they're coming into a bit of traffic, bunching them up. Stefan might have an opportunity here if he can gain some speed on the uphill. It's a thrilling opening lap here at Lime Rock Park from the Connecticut Cup. Dave looks to be giving a strong chase to Spencer down the hill here, onto the front straight. Staying very close. Jump into cockpit with Dave and watch this. Spencer protecting that inside line. Dave staying tucked right underneath him. See a bit of traffic ahead. This might be to Dave's advantage or even Stefan behind. Dave with a good run up the uphill. Unfortunately, it looks like for Dave that Spencer's got that Audi hooked up this evening. Very evenly matched. Stefan just inside Dave though, pips Dave on the inside, turn 1. Snuck in there. Nice move there by Stefan. Looks like he's going to go after Spencer now. Spencer stuck behind Ian Ditson, it looks like. Perhaps Ian has fallen back into some lap traffic, has a bit of an off there. Unfortunately not his night. Stefan picking up another place here. Unfortunately, Darren Treacle's dropped 7 positions back down to 8th place after that dust up on the first lap, unfortunately. Ralph Solomon making some good moves here. Let's jump down the track a little bit and see if we can catch up with Ralph Solomon. Looks like he's got a bit of open space to himself, so if he can maintain this, he's in a good place. Jumping back up to our race leaders. Bit neck and neck here. See Michael Buttrick pulled over there. He must have had a bit of a mechanical. And somebody's a little agricultural there on the inside of the downhill. John Wood, Darren Treacle, Clark Ordstrom running pretty close here. Darren's going to be fighting his way back up this field after having a spin there in turn 1 on the first lap. Back up front, Dave Fitzgerald looks like he's running down Stefan Vappa a bit, making a bit of progress as they run the downhill. Oh, looks like we had a bit of a shunt there with Stefan. Let's see what happened. Unfortunately, Stefan's lost it a bit. Dave's made up a position there, uncertain what happened. Let's see if we can jump to an instant replay and what happened. So we see Stefan entering turn 1 here. Looks like he was doing all right, but just made a little bit of contact there with Ralph Solomon. Unfortunately, got him squarely, and Dave's able to take over the position. Unfortunate for Stefan there. Dave's got a bit of distance between him and race leader Spencer Patterson, so we'll see if he can make up that time as they run down the Sam Posey straight. Jump down the field a bit to Kurt Uzbey. Currently running in 8th place, got a bit of open air, so pretty straightforward for Kurt at the moment. Expect he'll want to get up a little closer to the pointy end of the pack. Riding along with Matthew Barber, currently riding in 10th place. Looks like he's picking up some pace with each lap, so looking for a clean race here for Matthew. He's got some open air, so he should be able to make some decent time, be comfortable. Michael Buttrick unfortunately had an off here, just as we catch up to him. Now riding along with Ian Ditson. I'm sure he's a little disappointed thus far. Ian's been pointing into the grid for the last several races. Standing atop the podium, I'm sure he was hoping to win it. So I'd say it's over with. We're only about 7 minutes into this 30-minute race, and anything can happen. A little bit of a kerfluffle there behind Brad Kolsar as we follow him around in his Ferrari. Looks like we've managed to spread the field out just a little bit, so everybody's running with a bit of open air. Jumping on board with Robert Lang. Stefan Vappa behind. Stefan trying to make up some spots here, but unfortunately with that spin, a little bit of contact, he's fallen off the pace. I'm sure he's not happy with that, but I expect he'll tuck in and do what he can. A little bit of slow traffic there. That's going to trip up Stefan and his come from behind here. Robert Lang currently running in 3rd place, so this is definitely a different grid than we're used to. So, certainly some excitement here at the Connecticut Cup with the VRG Virtual Racing League this evening. Michael Buttrick down 4 places, but fighting back. Looks like Ian had another off there, unfortunately. There's a bit of attrition in this evening race. 9 minutes in. Check in with our race leader, Spencer Patterson. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be pulling one of our race drivers into the interview booth here. We have Jim Karamanis with us, the chair of the VRG Virtual Racing League. Jim, you're out tonight in a Ferrari here at Lime Rock Park. Why don't you tell us about it?
Well, I decided to jump in the Ferrari since no one else is in one, and didn't seem to work out too well for me.
Yeah, it seems like you had a string of bad luck there. Did you retire for the race?
Yeah, it was a rough start. I came out of the pits in 20th, and I was immediately getting lapped by the front runners and trying to get out of their way. I lost it again, and I decided to just park it.
Well, sometimes discretion's the better part of valor, so we understand it. But Marinella, thanks you for taking the Ferrari out at Lime Rock Park today for the Connecticut Cup. How'd you find it prior to the race session? Did it fit your drive, or do you prefer the? I believe you've typically been in the Mercedes-Benz, right?
Yeah, this is my first time in anything other than Mercedes. Honestly, I love the Ferrari. The lap times were there. Just had some bad luck on the start. Part of that was probably my fault.
Well, it's been an exciting race up front. You obviously just climbed out of the car, so you haven't really had the opportunity to watch. Darren Treacle, of course, qualifies P1, but he had a dust-up in Turn 1 and has fallen way down the pack, unfortunately. So I don't think Darren's going to be able to string four together this week.
Yeah, I think Darren and I were part of the same melee. There was a bit of an accordion effect on the first lap.
Well, that's unfortunate, but hey, if nothing else, we've got some different race leaders up there in the front, and it looks like Dave Fitzgerald, who I understand is joining us from the Washington, D.C. region SCCA, he's currently running in second place, giving the race leader, Spencer Patterson, a run for his money.
Yeah, Dave actually races an 87 BMW in real life, and decided to come out to the Jefferson 500, so we figure why not bring him in a week early.
Well, there you go. It's great seeing him running around in that Gulf oil livery he's got on that car. It just looks very nice. So, but very close race between those two right now, Jim. It looks like Dave's about 0.3 seconds behind Spencer in the race lead. So this is one to watch for sure as the race comes to an end here in about another 28 minutes.
Yeah, it looks like he's giving him a good run there. If it's okay with you, Ian, I'll just hang out in the booth with you for the rest of the race. I have nothing else to do since I'm not in my car.
No, appreciate the company. It's always nice to have you here virtually as we broadcast here for the VRG Virtual Racing League. I know, looks like we got Dave Fitzgerald's going for a pass on Spencer Patterson at the end of the front straight. He's going deep. Can he hold on to it? No, he overshot it, unfortunately for Dave. Bit of an off there. Sure he's regretting that, but there's plenty of time left. Maybe he can get it back. So I know the fans in the YouTube stream were asking what's coming up next for the VRG Virtual Racing League. Do you have anything you can share with us, Jim?
Yeah, absolutely. This Friday we're going to be racing in a doubleheader with the WDCR SCCA region at Road Atlanta. So we'll be kicking off the night running in our regular GT3 cars, and then I guess we'll be running from about 8 to 8:25, and then they'll be up at 8:30 for a 45-minute race.
Well, that's certainly exciting. I know the WDCR has been old hats at iRacing. I gather they've been doing this fairly regularly. Is that true, Jim?
Yeah, they've been doing this for a while now. In fact, a lot of what we've done in Camping our league was based off what they do, and they've had a lot of success. In fact, they're getting a bit of notoriety across the country as SimTV has been following them along the way, and SimTV will actually be carrying our race on Friday. And I'm excited to say that our own Ian Wisman will be sitting in the booth with the commentator crew from SimTV.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to that. I'll tell you, it's you know, the DIY aspect of what I've been doing thus far. It'll be great to be sitting in the booth with some seasoned professionals, and perhaps I can pick up a few tricks of the trade. So, certainly thank you and the WDCR group for certainly inviting us, the VRG VRL, as well as myself, into the booth to watch you guys race. That should be a very fun time, and I think Road Atlanta is going to prove a pretty fun challenge for our racers.
Well, hopefully I can make it through turn one that night and spend less time with you in the booth.
Yeah, it's certainly fun sitting up here watching you race, but I'm sure just as any time you're at the track and you brake, you just want to be out there having a good time.
It's not quite as frustrating as when the real car breaks. Oh, looks like Spencer and Dave are getting close together again.
I'll tell you what, yeah, Dave is mounting another comeback here. Yeah, the nice thing about virtual racing, the tow back home is very short.
Yeah, I wish fixing the cars were as easy it is in the virtual world. I like pressing that button.
Yeah,
no
doesn't everybody?
So.
Yeah, I know there were some questions from the YouTube viewers as to, how come we're not out there virtually racing vintage cars. Unfortunately, iRacing doesn't have a whole lot of those, so maybe as Virtual Racing League Chair Jim, we can investigate what other sims are out there that has a bit more of a vintage slant to it.
Yeah, it's tough because iRacing really is the #1 tool if you want to go virtual racing. It's set up, the league format, the way it supports your own customized league is pretty much superior to any of the products out there. The driving experience itself is as realistic as it can get for an at-home simulator. Unfortunately, the cars that they have on here are really quite difficult to drive. And with this being our first season and having lots of rookies, we wanted to start with a car that had traction control and ABS. But certainly for the next season, which I think we're going to ramp up pretty soon after this one finishes, we can investigate some different cars. There's a number of cars that are 10 to 20 years old that are better than a modern car. What we'll do is at the end of the season, we'll vote as a group, and whatever the racers want to do is what we'll race.
I think it's a very democratic approach to it. I know I set my father up with his sim rig over the weekend. I expect he'll probably join us next week. But first time out at Summit Point in the Mazda MX-5 was a bit of a handful, surprisingly. But then jumping into the GT3 BMW Z4 was surprisingly easy in comparison. So, a good starter car for somebody new to sim racing to get into, I think. And he found much greater success with that. So hopefully if he's at home watching, he jumps on the sim here this week and gets in some practice laps so he can come join us out on track.
Well, it's funny you say that because I fielded a lot of questions about why aren't we using the Miata, but just as you explained, the Miata is actually much more difficult to drive. These GT3 cars are a dream. They're a lot of fun, they're fast, they're exciting. Miata is a couple frustrating for me, so I didn't think it would be a good car for us.
Yeah, I was really surprised, and admittedly I've been in the broadcast booth for most of my time here and still building my rig, so I drive most everything with the mouse, but once we got Dad's sim rig set up, that MX-5 was just a beast to handle. You just really can't anticipate the braking and the handling, and it understeers like mad, so to get into these GT3 cars was really nice, so I think that'll be a nice entry point for him, and who knows, spend all winter once we get there and sim racing every night of the week.
Well, since we have a sort of a year-long winter until we go back to racing, we may as well.
Yep, it's cheap. Well, I mean, the startup costs aren't necessarily cheap, but I mean, for the cost of 5 gallons of race fuel, you can buy a couple of cars and a couple of tracks, go out there and have some fun, and for less than half a set of tires, you can get a nice driving rig and a nice little setup. So, of course, I guess that depends on what kind of tires you got to buy. You can probably buy a pretty decent sim rig for a set of tires.
Yeah, I guess about a full set of tires is about a typical sim rig. Your yearly costs, once you've bought into it, are probably about the same cost as buying 1 or 2 tires for your race season.
Jumping down here through the pack a little bit, we're about 20 minutes into this 30-minute race session here, the Connecticut Cup with the VRG Virtual Racing League, following along with Matthew Barber at the moment. Currently riding in 8th place, and just ahead of him is Darren Treacle, who's clawing his way back up, flashing his headlights there, and Paul Bova ahead in the Motol BMW. Looks like Paul was kind enough to give turn 1 to Darren, so he can start trying to claw his way back up there. Stefan ahead of him, but about 30 seconds ahead, so they're a little stretched out. So let's jump back up to the top of the grid here and see how this is going between Spencer and Dave. Spencer currently running by himself. Jump back down to Dave. He's all by himself coming down the straight. Looks like we got a bit of dicing a little further behind with Rob Hines and Robert Lang. So we got the Robs going back and forth and Ralph Solomon behind.
Yeah, Ralph Solomon's having a good run. He had a bit of a tough night. I don't think he got into practice or qualifying, so this is straight out race pace for him.
Yeah, I understand in the group's mailing list, Ralph was over at Spa putting in some test laps in a vintage Lotus, so, you know, world traveler here. So coming in hot from Spa, I guess he didn't feel he needed the practice of the qualifying, so probably get the hard charger award for tonight's race.
Well, he was driving Jimmy Clark's Lotus 49, and I guess when you get a little Jimmy Clark in you can do just about anything.
Yeah, I should try that sometime.
And Rob Hines goes up to third place. Could be the first time on the podium for him this season. He seems to get faster every single race.
He does. I mean, and I've certainly noticed that with all the competitors, even those who were absolutely brand new to sim racing. Every race, everybody gets a little bit better. Just like in the real world, the more seat time you have, the better you get.
Yeah, got a couple fast guys down in 6th and 7th place with Stefan Baba and Darren Treacle. I guess Stefan must have gotten caught in that melee early in the race as well.
His was just a little bit later, coming through turn 1, caught the fender of a slower car, which spun him out, and he fell back pretty far, but he's making his way back up.
Spencer Patterson's had a run of bad luck, and this would actually be a pretty popular win for him to come out on top the way his first few races is going.
Yeah, he's got that Audi hooked up. Not many Audis in the field, actually. Spencer's the only one out there currently.
It looks like Niall McKay might be in an Audi, but he also looks to be a few laps down.
I expect the Patterson crowd back in Pittsburgh is pretty excited for Spencer's performance thus far. 23 minutes into this race. So we got about 7 minutes left in this 30-minute race at the Connecticut Cup with the VRG Virtual Racing League. Certainly a different front end of the grid here, so this is pretty exciting. Unfortunate, though, for Darren to the string of luck he had.
Yeah, he's still going to probably be top 6, 7 here, so it's not going to hurt his points championship too much. We give out points Grand Prix style, so the first 10 cars score points at the end of a race.
Can I pull up the championship here? Let's see. No, we got to get the championship standings to populate. Broadcast team will work on that for next week. Robert Lang in 4th. Robert Hines here in 3rd, both running with clean open air ahead. Dave Fitzgerald. Spencer's got some lap traffic ahead of him, so this might be an opportunity for Dave to make up some distance. A little touchy there at pit out.
Tell you what, their best lap times are almost identical. Dave does seem to be running a little quicker right now.
A lot of traffic here for Spencer. And this is all Dave needs right here. Pretty tight out there here at Lime Rock.
Well, this is the smallest track we've raced on this year and the most number of entries we've had at 24, so yeah, it's a crowded track.
Certainly been interesting watching the drivers come up over the uphill and seeing the front end lift, which speaks to the realism of the sim, because as anybody who's raced Lime Rock knows that you can certainly catch air as you come up over the uphill.
Well, just like the real thing, if you don't breathe on the accelerator, you're going around.
Let's watch Darren work through some traffic here as he works his way back up towards the front end of the pack. We got just under 5 minutes left here to go in this Connecticut Cup. It's not where Darren wants to be, but the car at least looks nice, and we've got even Stefan's ahead of him, so 1 and 2 from last week are running right next to each other here this week at Lime Rock.
Yeah, there seems to be a car in between them. Doesn't look like Darren can get a run on them. Also looks like Spencer's turned it on a little bit, pulling a lot of space, a little bit of space between himself and Dave.
Back up with Dave Fitzgerald here in second place. Apologies for the color commentary there in the background. The dogs are barking because somebody's outside hollering.
Ralph Salomon hanging on there. He's in 11th. Might be able to get a top 10 this week.
Looks like he did just move up into... Oh, no, fell back again. We'll see. And his top's off, too. So, I mean, Ralph's going to have a heck of a picture here for the Vintage Motorsport. I'm sure it's not helping the aerodynamics of the car, but he's going faster, so something's working for him.
Maybe he's doing it roadkill style, where he just wanted to keep it running cool. Of course, it's a Ferrari, so the engine's in the back.
Jump up here to the front. Oh, looks like we might have some connectivity issues here.
Like Robert Lang just passed 4 people in one corner.
Heck of a race here for Robert tonight in third place. Looks like
he now has a 24-inch LED monitor. He was running with a 14-inch tube monitor in the previous races.
Up with our race leaders, we come into the last minute of this 30-minute race here at the Connecticut Cup with the VRG Virtual Racing League. Looks like Spencer Patterson's going to take this one. I'm sure he's pretty excited about it. Just has to hold on a little bit longer.
Yeah, looks like he got the white flag.
Still a bit of action a little bit further behind, though. John Wood coming up into third place. Must have had some trouble there. So John looks like he might make it onto the podium.
Well, it looks like Dave Fitzgerald has gone off because he's down in 6th place now behind Darren Treacle. Follow
along here with Spencer Patterson. They'll be coming down the downhill. This should be the end of the race. Let's ride along in the cockpit down the downhill and watch Spencer Patterson take his first checkered flag with the VRG Virtual Racing League. He's got to be excited about this one. Folks, we probably can't see it here in the sim, but I'm sure Spencer's at home pumping his fists and shouting. Out comes the virtual champagne. Spencer Patterson taking his first win here with the VRG Virtual Racing League. Congratulations to Spencer. Excellent drive. I'm sure he's very excited. We'll see if we can get him into the interview booth and see how he's feeling tonight.
Yeah, impressive drive for Spencer. Strong drive for Robert Lang. Second place.
We'll watch Robert come down here and take second place. I'm sure he's just as excited. A little bit of a dust up there in the Sam Posey Straight. He avoided it nicely, and Robert's going to take second place. Congratulations there to Robert Lang. John Wood finishing out third place there, so that's a pretty big come from behind for John Wood.
That was our president, Mike Lawton, getting into it with Paul Bova on the front straight.
Who gets the hard charge of this evening? Looks like Matthew Barber, up 10 spots, finishing in 7th place. John Wood, up 6 spots, finishing 3rd place there. Excellent race this evening. Certainly mix it up a bit from our usual podium from the last couple of races. Very exciting stuff. We'll wait till everybody's here in the pit lane and cross start finish. We can pull up our finishers and take a look at the official grid sheets. Tell you what, Jim, watching this track.
If anybody wants to interview, come on in.
Lime Rock's so short. I mean, these 48-second laps makes your head spin.
But I tell you what, there's absolutely no opportunity to rest.
Wait here for the official results to come in. And we'll see who we can pull into the interview booth. And here's your finishers for the VRG Connecticut Cup, the Virtual Racing League, the 4th race in the series. Spencer Patterson taking his first win of the series this evening. Congratulations there to Spencer. We got Robert Lang coming up big in 2nd place. Got to be feeling pretty good there in Robert Lang's camp. John Wood finished this out on 3rd place in the podium. I'm sure he's real excited about that one. He had a pretty good drive up through the pack. Unfortunately for Stefan Vappa in 4th place and Darren Treacle finishing out in 5th there. Ran into a spot of trouble during the race, Jim, and they just couldn't get it back. But I'll tell you what, they certainly made some progress because I'm pretty sure they were at the back of it once that happened.
Well, considering what they went through, I think they're going to be pretty happy with a top 5. That's going to be good, a good finish points-wise for both of them.
I believe I would be extremely excited about a top 5 finish after the trouble they had. So, excellent driving this evening. Very exciting stuff here at Lime Rock. This was a fun one, Jim. I think if you were going to run the tracks twice in a season, this would definitely be one you'd want to do more than once.
You know, it's funny. All the drivers were a little concerned to come here because of how small the track is, but I actually think there was more racing room here than there was at New Jersey.
It certainly looked like it. Then again, I think a lot of practice was put in before we got here, so I think the skill set's probably improved a little bit. And now that I'm looking down the score sheets here, unfortunately, Ian Ditson down there in 18th, he had a rough night.
Well, it looks like Darren Treacle and Dave Fitzgerald are both hanging out in the lobby.
Let's see if we can pull them in here.
Yeah, that's the only.
Darren, you got Ian and Jim in the broadcast booth. You available to talk?
I am. I was talking with Dave.
We brought Dave along with you. So we here in the broadcast booth. This is Dave Fitzgerald, Darren Treacle. We've also got Jim Karamanis, who's been up with me here since he retired. Gentlemen, Darren, Dave, good race. Darren, you had a heck of a come from behind after that mix-up there, and you lost. I think you were in. Were you in 1st place, 2nd place when you went off there?
I was in 2nd place when I went off the first time.
You're welcome.
And I'm not sure where I was the time that when I came together with Niall, because I believe he had an incident. It was in the middle of the track. Probably not to his doing. It's just kind of where he landed. But I want to apologize to Niall. I got a little upset, but yeah, I don't know where I was at that. I think I was at the end because I got towed in, and then I had to sit there and wait for repairs because I couldn't see over the hood. And well, actually, it's fast repairs. So then I took off and then put my head down and see what I could do. I'm sweating. I don't know about anybody else, but
I bet you are. And Dave, haven't met you yet in the real world, but good to meet you virtually here in the VRG Virtual Racing League interview booth. Thanks for joining us this evening. Excellent livery on your car and an excellent drive from you, though I think you also ran into a spot of trouble there because you were giving Spencer Patterson a run for his money there in 2nd place. Can you tell us a bit about your drive?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me up. It's a pleasure to race with you guys. I really needed this. This is a great track and a great little car. P4, I think, on the grid, and then I got into a little bit of a nudging match with Darren, like turn 3, I think, and that was the first of his problems for the night. But Spencer had took off, and I was keeping him within earshot. But at some point, probably about 2/3 of the race, my little spotter said that I had, about 10% less fuel than I needed. So I was really short shifting and trying to stay with traffic. I was just playing nice. but it didn't work for me. It's still the last lap. It sputtered out going up the hill. So all for naught. But it was a really great race. You guys put on a nice event. It's good to see people of all talents out there. But good, clean racing up front with Spencer. I'm glad he took it after all.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun for Jim and I to be watching this up here this evening. And Jim tells me that you've invited us to bring our circus to run with you later this week at Road Atlanta. Can you tell us a bit about that, Dave?
Yeah, sure. I run the Washington, D.C. region SECA iRacing League, which has been in existence for about 4 years now. And we've gotten to the point where especially during this particular time frame, we'd like to bring in other leagues to make the show a little bit more exciting. Last 2 weeks we had Daniel Richardson, who's a region. No, I think he's a nationals racer, but American sedan. So the bunch of Mustangs at New Jersey, which was a lot of fun. So Jim has been with our league off and on. I've seen his name around, and we just struck up a conversation, and I asked him if he wanted to join us. So you guys are going to do a like the undercard, a 25-minute sprint race at Road Atlanta, and then us clowns are going to do 45 minutes in the Jetta TDI and the Global MX-5 car.
Yeah, this might be the first time a GT3 car has kicked off a race for a diesel-powered front-wheel drive car.
Well, we made these choices many months ago, and now we're regretting them.
It should be an interesting show, that's for sure.
Well, the Jetta apparently hasn't gotten much faster than the MX-5, so it used to be a little bit faster. Now it's not, so it's going to be just a big jump.
Are you going to be running them in one class, Dave?
No, we're going to split them, but I can tell you that it's not going to take long before they're all just one big mass of metal.
That sounds synonymous to what Turn 1 was tonight. Darren, what happened to you in Turn 1 tonight?
Well, I braked a little early, and then I think it was right before 3, Dave and I came together. A little hargy-bargy, if you will. And then I got the worst of that and went off the track. But then I came back, and then I think, like I mentioned earlier, I think it was just a lap or two later, I came around the turn right before the downhill, and Niall was going crazy through the air, and then he landed and stopped right in the middle of the track, and I didn't have anywhere to go. I basically used him as a ramp and took flight. And that was pretty much it after that.
Where'd you finish up, Darren?
I think 6th or 7th.
No, I slipped from 2nd to 6th because of my fuel. So you may be finished in front of.
Yeah, I may have finished one spot in front of you. I was right behind Stefan.
Yeah,
wherever
Darren,
he finished.
You came in 5th place.
Oh, okay. That was better than I expected. So.
Yeah, top 5, not so bad, huh? I mean, couple that with your wins, you'll still be in command of our little championship here.
Yeah, especially considering I was on my lid flying through the air at one point in the race. Good thing I got a good pit crew.
A fantastic pit crew. Up here in the broadcast booth, looks like we have John Wood, our 3rd place finisher, who's looking to join us here in the interview booth. If you don't mind, I'll bring him in here for just a little bit. We have a chat before we all head off and have a beverage here. Hey, John, you're in the interview booth here with Ian and Jim Karamanis. We also have Darren Treacle and Dave Fitzgerald with us. How you doing this evening, John?
I'm doing well.
Looks like you had
a fun race.
Yeah, it looked like a pretty good race for you, finishing P3. It looked busy out there. Did you have a good time?
Oh, I had a blast. Starts are always interesting and predictable. A lot of quick guys, had some trouble on lap 1. I managed to get through pretty clean, and I think we all had our issues at times. I just, me, I didn't have anything too bad. Mowed the grass a couple times, but other than that,
Yeah, it looked like there was a fair amount of agricultural activity tonight. Doesn't look like Lime Rock's going to have to mow the lawn after this evening's event.
I think they're saving some money by having guys like us race.
I bet they are. So, John, Dave Fitzgerald here with us with the WDCR SCCA. We're going to run with them at Road Atlanta later this week. You looking forward to that? Are you going to make that race?
Oh, definitely. I'll be there for that. I've done some practice on that track the past week. I've never raced it with a real race car, so this is my first experience. It's challenging. There's a lot to that track.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be a great time, and certainly Dave was telling us a bit about it. I think it'll be enjoyable for everybody, and certainly something to tune in and watch on the live stream with Sim TV.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
I think the folks that are watching this, the feedback I've gotten is you really like this quite a bit. Ian, you're doing a very fine job. Hopefully, us drivers are putting on a halfway decent show, but I think it's a lot of fun for everybody.
Well, hopefully, Dave, you're a patient person because this could be a whole lot of fun a little bit later this week at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I really like this format. In fact, we like it so much that this is sort of the GT3 is going to be our next season, but keep that under your hat because we haven't told anybody yet. I guess I just blew it.
I'll edit it out of the.
yeah, edit it out in post if you don't mind. But yeah, we've been running skip barber cars, the Global MX-5s, the Mustangs, kind of pedestrian cars and kind of low horsepower. And we just finally decided to take the leap for a GT3 series. We do it every once in a while. We do like an endurance race where we do a GT3 cars because that's just a little bit more palatable. But yeah, really looking forward to Road Atlanta. It's another one of my favorite tracks. And again, looking forward to using this Z4, which I don't get to use a whole lot.
Yeah, it's myself up here in the broadcast booth. I don't often get to race, but I was telling Jim a little earlier, I just set my father up with a rig, and he jumped in it at Summit Point in the MX-5, and wow, I don't know that it was 10 laps before we made it through turn 1. Then we jumped into the Z4, and it kind of just came together, a whole lot more straightforward to drive. Certainly you're going a lot quicker, but it just handles the way one would expect a race car to handle. So I think you guys are in for a treat when you start running these.
Exactly.
Ian,
That's why I love it.
Ian, everything you just said about the MX-5 there at Summit and then jump into the GT3, exactly what I experienced as well. I was surprised that the MX-5 was, the handling was just not what I was expecting. This GT3 car was really nice step up.
Well, I certainly appreciate everybody joining us here in the broadcast booth. I'm sure we've all got some stuff to do, perhaps some homework, maybe even grab a spot at dinner. Any last words there from you, Darren, Dave, John?
No, just looking forward to Friday. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. Thanks very much for inviting me, and I'll be back.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. Thanks for coming out, and thanks for setting us up with Friday night. We're looking forward to it.
You're very welcome.
All right. Well, thank you all very much for joining us here. Go ahead and jump out of the room, and if you want to stop by the pub and bend an elbow with everybody hanging out there, feel free to. And again, excellent drives and come from behind Darren and Dave.
Thank
and
you. Yeah.
John, congratulations there on a P3 finish.
Yeah, congrats, John.
Thanks. That was fun.
I'm
Thanks,
sure you
guys.
have a.
See ya.
Yep.
All right. See you guys. Bye.
Take it
Good night,
easy,
everyone.
gents.
Good night.
Jim, thanks for joining me up here in the booth. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it was fun to be able to spend some time with you. Maybe we should try to switch sometime so that you can take a few laps in one of the races, Ian.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Yeah, I got a couple of more things to do on my rig, but once that's ready to go, you're probably going to have to start paying me to sit up here in the broadcast booth every week. So we'll work something out here. But again, Jim, thanks for joining me up in the booth, and thanks for putting together the Virtual Racing League. I think we had a great show tonight at Lime Rock for the Connecticut Cup. And better luck to you next week. Hopefully you're in the car and you're not sitting here jawing away with me.
Yeah, hopefully. Thanks for everything you do for us. You make us look good, Ian.
Certainly, Jim. Well, you have a good evening, and we'll see you again here later this week at Road Atlanta, and then again next week when we go to Watkins Glen.
All right. Thanks, Ian. Good night.
Good night. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for me here in the broadcast booth. I'm Ian Wisbom with the VRG. Appreciate you joining us here for the VRG Virtual Racing League Connecticut Cup at Lime Rock Park. Spencer Patterson taking his first win in our series here. Robert Lang in second place, and John Wood with a solid third place finish. Stefan Vappa in fourth, Darren Treacle fifth place, and then our guest driver Dave Fitzgerald from the Washington, D.C. region SCCA. Thank you for joining us this evening, Dave. Looking forward to having you, and I'll make sure I fix up and post what you guys have coming to you in the WDCR SCCA iRacing Series. So thanks everybody for joining us again. Later this week we'll be at Road Atlanta with the WDCR SCCA, and then next week we'll be having a fun run at Watkins Glen, followed by another run at Watkins Glen for the Champions Cup. I'm Ian Wisbom, signing off for the evening here with the VRG Virtual Racing League. Take care everybody, thanks for joining us, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Good night everybody.